I spent about 15 years building up my own business, which is a company that runs the Stand comedy clubs in Edinburgh, Glasgow and Newcastle. That had been stand-up comedy had been a big hobby of mine, and I got the chance to turn my hobby into a business, and did. I had been involved in politics when I was younger, and then I took a break to set up my business, and then during the Scottish independence referendum I got my mojo back and got heavily involved in politics again. And after that referendum result I joined the SNP, and then when the opportunity came along I went for the chance to become an MP. I felt elated and very happy. It was a great experience, although of course you see it coming as the piles of papers build up, but it's still, when you hear the announcement, it's a big thrill. Well, I'd seen this building before when I worked in London in the 1980s, so it was it wasn't very daunting or overwhelming. So I treat it with the mixture of disrespect and reverence that I think you have to bring to this job. I felt fine. It was good to get it over with. My maiden speech was about 3 weeks after I was elected, and as I do with all my speeches, I tried not to read it or use notes. I tried to memorise the speech and deliver it sort of apparently off the cuff, and I was able to do that. So that had been a worry, and it was good to get it over with. Well, it was a maiden speech, so you speak by tradition about your constituency, but I also then went in to talk about poverty in my constituency and in Scotland and in the UK in general, and that was what I majored on, if you like, the state of the country and the fact that so many people are losing out from the so-called economic growth. I'm not sure what I expected, to be honest, so it's difficult to answer that question, but no 2 days are the same, never a dull moment, and as we know, the turbulence of the last few weeks in July, it's an exciting time to be involved in politics. I think it's even more archaic than I had thought. I think a lot of the procedures are so last century and out of date and not fit for a modern democracy, really. So all of the procedures and processes this place rapidly should be updated, but there doesn't seem to be the will to do that, really. People seem to like their traditions no matter how unfit for purpose they may be in the modern world. Well, the biggest challenge is actually, I find, trying to get in a debate, because you're never guaranteed to get called to speak by the speaker in any given time, and you have to do this ridiculous nonsense of bobbing up and down in your seat to try and attract attention. And I found on at least 4 occasions I had prepared a speech and wasn't able to deliver it because we ran out of time. That's the most frustrating thing. Getting elected is hard to, it was probably the highlight. It's all been downhill since then. I don't know, there's lots of things. I mean, getting the government to reverse its position on tax credits, that was a big achievement, and you can achieve things if you put your mind to it. What would I have done differently? Do you know what? I think I would have held out for a better office than this. We're sitting here in the middle of summer. There's no air conditioning or ventilation in a sort of a room that's probably just barely big enough to be a prison cell. And so yeah, I would have held out for a better place to work, I think. But there you go. Who am I to complain? I'm sure other people work in much worse conditions. When Parliament's sitting, which is only 32 weeks a year, I'm here Monday to Thursday. The rest of the time I'm in the constituency, and we get an allowance to employ staff, and I put all of that into the constituency. I have no support here in Westminster, so the entire operation is based and comes through the constituency, which means that I can provide a good level of service to the constituents in terms of casework and inquiries that they have. Well, the work-life balance is always a difficult one. Luckily, before I came into this place, I had a job that kept me kept me engaged in the evenings and weekends anyway. So it wasn't. I've never been a 9 to 5 person. So you find the time, but and so much of this job, of course, it's difficult to see the barrier between business and pleasure. I mean, these things overlap, and your colleagues become your friends, and your social life sort of melds into your working life. So but I still, you have to carve out time for family and for old friends as well, which I try to do. Do it, get involved, put yourself forward. Never assume that somebody can do it better than you can. Maybe you're the best option that people have got. Do you know what the little sort of sack that the door staff wear on their back is called? It's called a wig bag, WHYG, and it's there from the part of the Georgian court dress to actually carry around their wigs, but they don't wear wigs anymore, but they still have the wig bags, along with the swords and the tights and all the other anachronistic stuff in this place.